All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. Super excited to be hosting this webinar here. We're just going to give everyone another minute or so to trickle in. We got a bunch of attendees that are joining here, so appreciate your patience. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. And while we're waiting for everybody else to trickle in, we always start with a hard question. So, Chris, this is coming after you. Favorite pizza topping?
Oh, that is a tough one. Oh, I'm actually gonna say, you've got to have pepperoni on there. Other than that, I like a hot banana pepper or a roasted red pepper.
Okay, that's a bit
Yeah,
of curveball. That's not one that you hear every day.
yeah.
For,
What about you?
for me, my favorite pizza topping is going to be bacon. Like,
Bacon.
what I love
Nice.
about bacon is you could literally have it at every meal. You could have bacon with breakfast, bacon and eggs. You could have a
Yep,
nice BLT sandwich for lunch. You could
yep.
have, shrimp wrapped in bacon as a hors d'oeuvre or a appetizer. And of course, you could have, bacon added into any dish at dinner. Like some bacon charred Brussels sprouts, a little bit of bacon crumbles in there or bacon wrapped steak. Yeah, so bacon
You put some
for sure.
you put some thought behind that one.
Oh yeah, definitely love bacon. Alrighty. So it looks like we have a good amount of attendees here. So everybody's trickled in. So we'll get started on time. Appreciate everybody joining on time. So appreciate everybody joining today's webinar here on March 19th, 2026. Today we're going to go beyond the tech stack, proving risk reduction in the age of cyber insurance. I'm Nick Wolf. I'm the channel chief here at Cork, and I am joined by my good friend Chris.
Chris,
Chris.
hey, thanks, Nick. Chris McGinn, the director of channel sales at Beauceron Security.
All righty, good deal. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on into it for today. So before we dive into the content, we're just going to give a quick little backstory of each of our companies. So quick little history of us here at Cork. Cork was actually created by the same team that created Datto. So on our team, we have Austin McCord, who is the founder of Datto. He has since founded Cork and another company in the MSP space called Slide. Even myself, I was at Datto for about a decade prior to joining Cork. We also have our CEO, Dan Candy, who is an AWS alumni, Marcus Reck, who heads up our engineering team. He's a Datto alumni. Andrew Mora, who's our CRO, he's a Datto and a Pac State alumni. We also have some really strategic advisors, people like Chris Day advising us, who's the CEO of ScalePad, Jay McBain advising us, who's a Canalist channel chief. Also not pictured, we have folks like Ryan Weeks, Rob Ray, Urbis Badiani. So a lot of familiar faces in the channel. And ultimately, there's really two products that we help MSPs out with. We help them out with our Cork Vantage product, which is really about increasing their efficiency through our cyber risk insights platform. Essentially, it's a cybersecurity tool for cybersecurity tools. It plugs into the MSP's EDR, RMM, backup, MFA software to give them some more visibility. And then the secondary product that we offer is something called Cork Protect, which is our financial protection product that's really designed to supplement a cyber insurance policy. But enough about Cork later. We have some really good educational content that we're going to tackle today. Before that, Chris, tell us a little bit more about your company if an MSP hasn't heard of you guys yet.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I think at our core, Beauceron exists because traditional security awareness training really has kind of reached its limit in the market today, especially in the MSP space. The old approach for awareness training was really linear. It was train people, expect them to behave better, and measure their clicks. But over the years, we've learned behavior change, not a straight line when it comes to individuals within an organization. And over the last handful of years, we've seen the impacts of employees not being properly educated. Despite organizations spending more than they've ever spent on technology controls, attacks continue to happen. And when they happen, it's always for the simplest of reasons. And really, what we're seeing in the industry, it's a bit of a vicious cycle. People are the most commonly targeted attack vector. We label them as the problem in our organizations, and we think my users aren't going to learn anyway. So we don't actually invest in truly successful programs, and attacks continue to succeed. And the cycle continues to kind of repeat over and over again. So it's really obvious we have a problem, but it's 2026 at this point. We don't have a cybersecurity awareness problem anymore. People have never been more generally aware that cybersecurity is a thing and that cyber threats are out there. really the next evolution of this security awareness industry, it's not about awareness, as I just said. It's about motivating individuals across our customer organizations to make really good decisions when it comes to using technology, and most importantly, improving the perception of the importance that they play in their organizational and in their personal security. And we can really touch on why that's so important later on. But really big question is how can this actually be done at scale without creating operational drag for an MSP? If you want to flip to the next slide there, Nick. Thank you. It is a real problem that we're seeing in the industry. About 35% of MSPs that we talk to say it's really tough to show clients the real payoff of their awareness programs. And then 25% feel that running these programs is just simply too much work. And therefore, the margins are so thin that they either don't provide it or they just choose a checkbox solution, which, as we'll get into later on, is a really risky approach in today's world of cyber and specifically in cyber insurance. So this negative perception around awareness programs we see usually comes from experiences with old school training, manual, time consuming, not very profitable. But Beauceron flips that problem on its head. Our solution's smart, automated, and it's scalable. And when it's done right, awareness doesn't just cut risk, but it grows profitability for our MSP partners. We see up to an 8 times reduction in phishing incidents within just 90 days of training with really minimal effort required by their MSP. And that's a really important part that I'll touch on throughout the conversation today. Enhancing these programs is not about spending more time. We know that we can't create that operational drag for an MSP when they have 20, 30 different vendors and providers and tools in their stack that they need to manage. But we provide real measurable risk reduction for your clients. And I'm looking forward to talking about that a little bit more.
Awesome. Perfect. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about on today's webinar really is the missing layer between security controls and cyber insurance outcomes. In order to have a proper cyber insurance policy, you have to have the security tools in place. And those security tools have to actually be running properly. They have to be set up. They have to actually be installed across all users and all endpoints within the environment. And one of the reasons why we're at Cork seeing that even mature security stacks are still producing claims is not necessarily the lack of security maturity, but it's the lack of measurable proof that all the security tools are actually installed properly at the right place at the right time. So typically today, when a small business wants to get a cyber insurance policy, they have to fill out something called a cyber insurance questionnaire. Alrighty. And that questionnaire could be quite daunting. It could be several pages long. Do you have MFA turned on? Yes or no. Do you have backups running? Yes or no. Have you enrolled in security awareness training? Yes or no. Now, some small businesses, they do it necessarily the wrong way and they just say yes to everything, submit the answers, and all right, one less thing I got to worry about. Very low likelihood that your cyber insurance will actually pay out that claim because you're just saying yes, and that's not a best practice. A lot of small businesses do loop in their managed service provider because, again, they're the technical subject matter expert, which we love to see. But even if that managed service provider fills out that questionnaire 100% correct, at that snapshot in time, the downside there is that, again, it's still that one snapshot in time, right? MFA might be turned on today. EDR might be installed today. Backups might be running today. But what happens 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, et cetera? So, one of the unique approaches and things that I'm kind of liking what we're doing here at Cork is, we do provide MSPs with this monitoring platform that not only ties into all these tools, but we're able to alert in real time if there's any changes in those tools. Like RMM might be installed today, but if RMM gets moved 3 months from now, we can let our MSPs know about that. MFA might be turned on today, but if it gets turned off tomorrow, we let MSPs know about that as well. So whether you end up utilizing Cork to monitor and audit your stack or another solution, this is something that you as an MSP should regularly be checking. Because look, as a managed service provider, you got a lot on your plate. You got, half a dozen security tools, if not more. You have clients that come and go. You have employees of those clients that get onboarded and offboarded. New devices come on. Maybe one of your technicians who handles the onboarding is on vacation or leaves. There's a lot of moving parts here. So it's definitely important to audit your stack and your inventory in real time to make sure that all of your endpoints have RMM, all of your endpoints have EDR, all of your endpoints have backups that are running, all of your users have MFA turned on and aren't in MFA bypass mode, all of your users have security awareness training. It pretty much needs to be across the board because those are the types of controls that the cyber insurance carriers look at, which will ultimately affect the outcome of whether or not cyber insurance is going to pay out, right? If you're filling out that questionnaire and you say MFA is turned down, when in reality, uh, it's probably not going to pay out if MFA is turned off in reality. Now, Chris, here's a question for you. When you're selling security awareness training, do you ever come across, a client that thinks, they're above the law or smart enough, like, yeah, I really need to install security awareness training for everybody, but not me because like I know what I'm doing, but the other people at my company, they don't. Do you ever come across something like that?
Yeah, it's funny a little bit. It's not usually the folks that we are talking to and that are actually looking for a solution. They know that this is something that even they have things that they have to learn. But it is funny to hear them talk about maybe some other people within the organization, maybe some other people within the technology department. A lot of times it is executive teams within an organization. They say, is there a way that we can have our CEO not enrolled in this training? He or she really doesn't think that they need it. So we do hear that where people say, yeah, no, I know this stuff and I don't necessarily need this training all the time, but we know and it's proven that if you don't take training and if you don't take it frequently enough, you are a higher risk to your organization. So we see it, just usually not with the people that we're actually speaking with directly that are looking to procure a security awareness tool.
Yep. So again, it doesn't matter if you're the CEO or the janitor of an organization, you have to have the same security measures in place, right? And
Yep.
this doesn't come from me or from Chris. This is typically what cyber insurance carriers are going to look at, right? So
Yep.
they want 100% adoption across all of your tools. Not just a subset of your tools having MFA, a subset of your users having security awareness training. It's pretty much everybody across the board, right?
And if you don't have it, that's a really easy way for a claim to be denied.
Yep. Look, growing up, you had to do things that you didn't want to do. You had to eat your vegetables. You had to brush your teeth. There was no opting out of that because, oh, well, my teeth are fine. I don't need to brush my teeth. Look, it's about good hygiene, both physically and obviously in this today's scenario, we're talking about good cyber hygiene, right? So making sure that all employees are enrolled in that security awareness training will definitely help increase the likelihood of a cyber insurance claim getting approved and pay out, which is actually very startling. Now, all small businesses attending this webinar today and managed service providers attending this webinar today should have a cyber insurance policy. But even though you have a cyber insurance policy, and as important as a cyber insurance policy is, it's important, but it's not perfect. Just because you have cyber insurance doesn't necessarily mean it's actually going to pay out. In fact, we're seeing about 30 to 40% of cyber insurance claims are actually getting denied. And a lot of it goes back down to my previous slide of those security measures and protocols not being deployed 100% across everywhere. Like Travelers Insurance, they denied a claim recently because the user filled out the questionnaire saying MFA was turned on, when in reality, MFA wasn't turned on for all users across all devices. As a result, they didn't want to pay out that claim. So it's very, very important, like I said earlier, to have 100% adoption. It can't be the CEO going, well, I'm above the law. I don't need to have MFA turned on. I don't need to take security awareness training because the insurance providers, they do not care. They want 100% adoption across everything. We are seeing the cost of cyber insurance rise as well. And the process to get a cyber insurance policy, it has become a little bit more complex. If we were to rewind, 10 to 15 years ago, getting cyber insurance was rather simple. Do you have antivirus running? Yes or no? Is there a firewall? Yes or no? Great. Here's cyber insurance. Check. Now it's, hey, do you have antivirus? Do you have MDR? Do you have EDR? Do you have XDR? Do you have a SOC service? Do you have MFA? Do you have security awareness training? So many different acronyms, and it's not just about having one or two tools. It's about having a multi-layered approach to cybersecurity, which is typically what we're seeing. And in order to prove that multi-layered approach to cybersecurity, the approval process, is a little bit more complex. It's not just about answering one or two questions. It's about really getting a thorough understanding of the client's environment. Chris, are you seeing the same thing on your end, right? It's hey, not only do you have security awareness training, but is security awareness training for all of your employees? Do they take it regularly, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is, like you said, it has to be full adoption across the organization. We are starting to see, which is a great thing that we've been advocating for a long time. It's specific frequencies and cadences of training and phishing being deployed. And it's not just did you assign it, what do your completion rates look like across the organization? Are people actually engaging within the program that you're delivering, which makes it really important to have an engaging program you're delivering to people, not just flipping a PowerPoint across via email every once in a while. Has to be engaging. You have to be able to prove that people have actually taken it. And we're starting to see the most progressive cyber insurance providers are starting to provide decreases on premiums if people can demonstrate that the awareness program is actually working. Our click rates going down, our report rates going up. Is risk actually being reduced in your organization because you've chosen and deployed a successful security awareness program? If so, like I said, some of the most progressive providers are actually starting to improve some premiums to motivate that kind of behavior because they don't want to have to pay out a claim. So yeah, we're seeing the exact same thing.
Awesome. So cost savings for those that are doing the right work and the right
Yep.
actions. Awesome. Um, so what you mentioned earlier was quite interesting is, about 100% adoption, right? It's all about 100% adoption for the security stack. And that raises an interesting point. Something that was in the news last summer, July 2025, was an insurance firm. They won't cover a $5 million, I believe it was a ransomware cyber attack for the city of Hamilton in Canada, and they cited a lack of login. So this goes back to MFA, where the local city government here, they purchased a cyber insurance policy. And during the questionnaire process of the cyber insurance policy, they said MFA was turned on for all users, when in reality, only a couple of the departments within the city government actually had MFA turned on. And because there was a couple of government departments that didn't have MFA turned on, unfortunately, this city got hit by that $5 million attack, and the insurance did not pay out, which is very unfortunate. But again, Chris, going back to what you're saying, it's all about making sure that everybody is enrolled, whether it's for cybersecurity awareness training or multi-factor authentication or having backups running on servers. Whatever is mission critical. Again, it really has to be 100% adoption across the board.
Yep.
Yeah. So we talked earlier about managed service providers. They sell a lot of security tools, right? Because there's no one security product that's going to solve all your troubles, right? You buy this one thing and everything will be solved. That
Yeah, the
doesn't
silver bullet. Yeah.
Yeah, the silver bullet doesn't exist. It's
Yeah.
about having a multi-layered approach. You have to have RMM for patch management. You have to have EDR or antivirus or MDR. You need to have multi-factor authentication turned on. You need to have security awareness training turned on. Because even though you'll have the best in breed technology and the best in breed tools that are out there, whether you're spending $10 on a tool stack or $100 on the tool stack, all those tools have one thing in common. And Chris, that's me and you, humans, people. We suck, right? Simple put, it doesn't matter how much you spend on technology. Human behavior is really always going to be the biggest risk and most measurable risk. So I guess, Chris, you deal with a lot of, user engagement, right? You guys are obviously a security awareness training company. You're not installing a firewall. You're not installing a backup or an endpoint protection. You're trying to solve the problem for the weakest link in the chain in the security stack, which is the user. So what are some of the things you're seeing on your end right now?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we see a lot, Nick. We have over a million users on our technology. We work with over 1,500 organizations. So we see a lot and we have a lot of exposure to this. And I think there's a couple of different things that I want to make sure that we touch on that you have up on the screen. But like you said earlier on, MSPs are dealing with so many different tools in the stack, and they have so many different things that they need to manage and that they need to monitor while still trying to be proactive with their clients and provide that proactive kind of service. So it's really tough to be able to tackle each of these with the level of rigor that MSPs want to be able to do. So it's really important that whatever security awareness solution that you're providing is allowing you to be proactive and is giving you the insight in the data that you need to be proactive with your clients, not just measuring click rates and being able to say, oh, this thing happened, but being able to actually identify why something happened in an organization is more important than ever, especially when going to submit a claim for cyber insurance. Being able to understand why something happened and being able to prove with rigor that you had the right kind of program in place is becoming more and more important all the time. Like I had mentioned just a minute ago, for one reason, you can see improved premiums and cost savings when you do that. But I think one of the biggest myths that we see in cybersecurity is that human risk is unmeasurable. You can't measure human risk. It's not quantifiable. It is. Human behavior is a quantifiable risk factor. And what we have seen from working with all of the organizations that we have and all of our MSP partners is that human behavior can be tracked and it actually can be measured with that same kind of focus and rigor as normal technical telemetry. And like I said, it's not just what people do, but why people do the things that they do. That's what you have to understand to actually be able to reduce risk and improve human behavior in an organization. And so we specifically at Beauceron measure things. Of course, we measure click rates. We measure report rates. How often are people reporting suspicious activity? Really, really important leading metric of resiliency in an organization. We measure post-click reporting. Do they admit the mistakes that they made? And it's important you foster a culture within your client organizations where they can admit that they made a mistake. So you as the MSP or the client themselves can respond to it quickly and effectively, not creating a culture where people run and hide when they know that they've done something wrong. We surface repeat risky behaviors. We surface confidence levels, perception of leadership support in the organization. And all of that wraps into security culture scores so that you can see the perception around security within an organization, which is becoming more and more important. Because, like I said earlier on, everybody's aware that cybersecurity is a thing, but we have to improve individuals' perceptions of the role that they play in their organization because we have data that shows that the more that people actually care about security, the less of a risk they are to an organization. And so looking at all of these different kinds of metrics instead of just saying, hey, we assigned some training, to shifting that conversation to actually being able to go to your clients and say, your team is now 40% less likely to fall victim to phishing. They're 62% more likely to report phishing when they receive it. And because of the way that we educate individuals, they're 83% less reliant or over reliant on tools that you have in your stack. They know they have an important role to play. That's a much different conversation to have with a client on a QBR or on an annual review than saying, yeah, we assigned training and everybody completed it this year. Job well done.
So
They're
more
very
of an
different
actual measure,
conversations.
yeah, more of an actual measure would be instead of looking it as training completed, yes or no, it's behavior has been proved by this percentage, right?
Exactly. It's training was completed, but what did that training actually drive? Just throwing training over the wall and kind of hoping it sticks. That's great. People need education, but if you can't prove that the education worked, was the education worth the time that it took off task for employees to actually do it? And we're seeing insurers caring a lot more deeply about being able to prove that the education is actually working. This is finally the direction that cyber insurance is heading in, instead of just those training completion rates. And we see as well one of the least likely incidents to actually receive a payout for a claim is incidents due to human error. Mistakes and incidents are going to happen. Nearly a third of organizations submitted a cyber insurance claim in 2024. Mistakes are happening. People are submitting claims. But when they happen, insurers are increasingly looking for an organization to actually prove that they had these kinds of rigorous programs in place and actually tracked. So if you have an incident, simply saying that we did training is not good enough anymore. And also, you have it on the slide here, Nick, that once a year training is not cutting it anymore either. Almost every single kind of compliance or regulatory framework that somebody is trying to align to, or when they are going after procuring cyber insurance, annual training is not enough. We are starting to see requirements for training more frequently and phishing more frequently as well. Two very common requirements that we always see. And it's good that that's the case because when we look at our study of our clients and the million plus users on our tool, we see that there's a decay in people's knowledge after they actually take their training. So immediately one day after somebody completes cybersecurity awareness training, there's about a 3% chance that they're going to click on a phish. And that's great. You don't want to strive for 0%. That's not realistic. If your organization has a 0% click rate, unfortunately, your phishing simulations probably are just not difficult enough and not targeted enough down to individuals. So shooting for that 2 to 5% range is really good. So immediately after training, we see about a 3% click rate. After 90 days, that jumps up to about a 15% chance someone will click on a phish or a phishing simulation. But after 360 days, that spikes all the way up to a 95% chance that somebody is going to click on something that they shouldn't. So that's why cyber insurers increasingly expect this continuous reinforcement in security awareness programs. And that's why, regardless of what security awareness program you're using, it should automatically be delivering training on a quarterly basis and phishing automatically on a monthly basis. These are the cadences and the frequencies that we see time and time again are proven to be the right frequency to be top of mind and keep these things top of mind for individuals, but not hammering them with so much education that they just kind of disengage and shut down from the program because you can overtrain people too. We see there are some providers that suggest doing weekly training and that's being delivered out. And a lot of times I literally just spoke to an MSP yesterday who was coming to us looking for something new because they're getting too many complaints from their clients that they're receiving too much training. Everybody has a day job to do. They are not hired at their organization to complete security awareness training. You can overtrain people. And we see that if you assign 2, 3 hours of security awareness training content a year, you can actually have the inverse results of what you're trying to strive for. So you assign too much training, click rates will spike, and report rates will drop, and engagement rates will drop. People will disengage from your program. They're too busy, and frankly, you'll just kind of piss them off if you assign way too much training to the organization.
So with
So
that in mind, if too much training is a bad thing, does that mean training is going to get replaced by AI? Like,
yeah,
what's AI role? AI's role here?
Yeah, really, really good question. And obviously, very hot topic. I think every webinar that our attendees have been to, I'm sure there is some reference to AI throughout, as there should be, rightfully so. But there's a really important line for us to walk here. I think AI threats are, of course, becoming more and more prevalent. We see them every day. We don't need to talk about how prevalent AI is in our daily life now. But what we have to be careful of is leaning too quickly, too fast into how we are leveraging AI to train us to watch out for AI attacks. It's kind of dystopian if you think about it a little bit, but what we need to be careful of is a deep fake simulation video, for example, of someone's CEO maybe asking them to do something or something like that as an example. Just because somebody was able to identify in a training or in a deep fake simulation, they can identify some little specific things that they should look out for within that video. AI is advancing so much and so quickly that because they were able to identify something in a simulation today does not mean that they'll be able to do that in literally just 2 weeks from now because the industry is advancing so quickly. And so what we have to do is we have to focus on the core pieces of training that we educate people on across all different kinds of social engineering, from deepfake AI attacks, from deepfake voice attacks to SMS text phishing to normal email-based phishing simulations and phishing attacks. What we educate people on is the actual social engineering techniques behind those that are maybe asking somebody to do something that you're normally not asked to do. Think about that. If you are being asked to do something with a really, really short timeline and there's pressure to complete something, take another look at what you're being asked to do. Are you receiving something that you weren't expecting from somebody that you haven't engaged with before? These kinds of things that we educate people on and paying attention to the emotions that you are dealing with when you receive these different kinds of communication. This education is important, whether, like I said, it's email-based phishing or it's a deepfake attack. That's one thing we have to ensure that we're training people on those fundamentals and we are topping up people's knowledge on that all the time. So regardless of the kind of attack, they're ready to face it. Because otherwise you're just playing whack-a-mole. There's new kinds of attacks coming out all the time. You cannot always be
AI
simulating
is a
and
good
pumping
thing,
out.
but it's also a bad thing, right? AI is a good thing, but a bad thing because it could do a great
Yeah,
amount of training for us and help us stay secure. But AI is also used by the bad guys too with those deepfakes attacks. So,
yeah.
very interesting to see how that develops both on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, and I mean it like we have to use it. It's a tool available to us and we absolutely use it in our approach. We have an AI content recommendation system that I think we should probably come up with a better name for, but it will actually look at individuals in an organization, what industry are they operating in, what is their role, what gaps do they have within their risk profile based on different indicators that we collect and different data that we have within the tool. And then this system will automatically assign a training course to that individual specific to their industry, their role, and gaps in their risk profile. So that we're training people on exactly what they need to be trained on, as opposed to just generalized training. And we see that increasingly becoming prevalent in different compliance and regulatory frameworks, as well in cyber insurance. Are people taking training that is relevant to their role, their organization, and are we filling gaps in their specific risk profile? So we have to use AI. It's a great tool available to us. We are leveraging it, of course, but we have to be careful. It's a good thing and a bad thing, just like you said, Nick.
Yep, perfect. So I know earlier today you mentioned the fact that you know, once a year training isn't good enough in most cyber
Hmm.
insurance scenarios. Most cyber insurance scenarios, won't pay you out if it's some sort of user-based attack where they still fell victim after the security awareness training. And we're actually seeing the same thing on our end as well. So we actually came across a client of our MSP. Okay, it's a construction firm client, 100 plus employees, a multi-million dollar construction firm client, and they actually had a pretty solid tech stack, right? They were using endpoint detection and response. They were using RMM, email security, business continuity backups. They had a security awareness training in place. And even though they had all those different security measures in place, an attack still got through. This one was a little bit more sophisticated, where it was a phishing email that spoofed a real vendor request that did
Mm.
business with this construction firm, saying, "Hey, send this month's payment to us to this new bank account instead of this old bank account." And it got through the email filter. It got through the sniff test by the accountant lady, going, "Oh, we do business with this vendor all the time. Yeah, this bill seems about right of what we normally pay them." So sure enough, they did. They did pay out this new bank account number. And what was interesting here was a couple different things. Number one, the construction firm actually didn't realize that they were scammed until 2 weeks after the fact, when their vendor knocked on their door saying, "Hey, this month's payment's late. How come you haven't paid us yet?" And that's when they went down the rabbit hole and figured out what happened. So the first thing that they did was they called their cyber insurance carrier. They had cyber insurance, thank God. Cyber insurance is important, but in this particular scenario, because it was a wire transfer fraud attack, and because the security awareness training failed, they didn't pay out the claim. So in this particular example, wire transfer fraud attacks typically aren't covered by cyber insurance policies. So yeah, they cyber insurance wasn't able to pay out. The second person that they called was their bank. Now, if you catch on an attack like this rather soon, within a few hours, the bank might be able to reverse some funds. But because they didn't know about this attack until 2 weeks after the fact, this money was long gone. So the bank was unable to reverse the funds in this scenario. So bank couldn't help, cyber insurance couldn't help. In this particular example, the MSP did sell the client Cork's financial protection, which is a supplemental gap coverage that fills in the voids of a cyber insurance policy and fills in the blind spots, if you will. So luckily, we were able to compensate this client $21,000 in a matter of days, so they were still up and running and recovered because their MSP sold them the additional financial protection that we offer at Cork. But again, this just reinforces the message that you mentioned earlier, Chris, is that if you're not following the best practices that are educated within security awareness training, it's quite possible that a cyber insurance claim get denied. Now, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, you know, when you get an email, even from a legitimate vendor, to change a bank account number, what do they teach us in security awareness training? Like, how can we better prepare ourselves?
Verify it through a second means of communication. So if you were asking for, or you were being asked to make that kind of a change, and you were not expecting to be requested to make that kind of a change, call. Call the provider directly and talk to them on the phone. If you can shoot a Teams message or a Slack message, depending on what kind of communication you have in place with them, verify that through a second means of communication. If you are not able to get that verification, verify it internally, anything like that, double verify it, triple verify it before you make any change like that. That's the number one thing. Verify it outside of whatever kind of communication you received. So if you got that communication via email, don't reply to the email to verify, hey, just checking that this is legit, because that email could actually be compromised and the attacker is going to respond, of course it is. Yes, just make the change. Verify it through another means of communication.
Got it. So pick up the phone and call that person directly, start a new email chain with and verify that, hey, is this the right email? So doing that secondary step. All righty.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense for sure. So one of the last topics I wanted to tackle before we pass it over to some Q&A here is, really why MSPs should move from reactive response to proactive risk visibility, right? Instead of, being that reactive saying, hey, sorry you got hit by an attack. Here's more stuff I could sell you, and to prevent those attacks happening from the future. Really, MSPs should shift to the mindset of, hey, you're currently doing security awareness training every year. Let's do it every 6 months now. Let's do it every 3 months now. Even though you haven't had an attack, and nothing bad has happened, we want to stay a little bit more proactive and get ahead of the curve. Would you say that's pretty good advice? Are you seeing more MSPs? Again, we don't want security awareness training to be fatigued and happen every day, but have you seen a large uptick of MSPs shifting it from 1 year to what? Every 6 months, 3 months, monthly? What's the growing trend?
Yeah, the recommendation on our side is to provide that on a quarterly basis, and we do see a lot of MSPs that we are talking to have thankfully already made that shift from providing it annually. Of course, some do, but a lot have already made the shift to provide that more frequently, whether it is biannually, monthly, or quarterly. We recommend, and it's proven that quarterly is the best cadence to do that. But we see a lot of MSPs have already made that shift, which is awesome, and we can just automate the delivery of that training so that every quarter they don't have to choose the course, choose the individuals, send the training out, send reminders. It's all automated in our solution. But what we are seeing as well, and this is a very, very positive change that we've seen probably over the last 6 to 8 months in a lot of our conversations, is almost every MSP that we talk to says, I am trying to shift our security and our security awareness practice from just being managing the solution for our clients and handling the kind of day-to-day tasks of the program into a truly proactive or consultative approach. That that line almost exactly we hear from so many different MSPs. One I literally talked to earlier this week, where that's the shift that they're trying to make. And I think, unfortunately, and this is not on the fault of MSPs at all, a lot of MSP conversations are still starting out with their clients in a similar way. We're here because something went wrong and we're here to fix it. That's not what clients are looking for, and that's not what MSPs want to provide. They've told us that they want to shift their programs to be more proactive and to be more of that true security consultant for their clients. And so there are a couple of things that people need to know to be able to make that shift. What does proactive risk visibility actually mean or actually look like in practice with security awareness? It means for your clients knowing which users need intervention. So do we have some repeat clickers, some people that are not consistently doing the right thing? Who are they? They need intervention. And then ideally, your security awareness solution automates that intervention, sends them additional training if they have lots of clicks, sends them training that trains them on the specific fish that they had actually engaged with or clicked on so that they can see the specific cues in that attack and where they could have actually identified that that was a fish before they engaged with it. So which users need intervention, and then provide that intervention automatically. Which behaviors are trending up or are trending down, and being able to demonstrate what that actually means and know what to do with that data for your clients. Whether the organization's culture is either supportive of awareness and security practices, or are they disengaged and how can you fix that? Whether there's overconfidence in the organization and that's creating a hidden risk. And what I mean by that is we see that individuals who feel that security tools alone protect them and they don't think they have an important role to play in their organization's security, they're actually much, much more likely to click on a fish than someone who simply knows, yes, I know we have security tools in place, they're important, but I still have a role to play here. So being able to measure that overconfidence and identify that hidden risk is a great way for an MSP to be proactive and provide that information back to their client so that they can communicate that internally within the organization. And also being able to identify where training is working and also where it's not. And if you can summarize these things, and these can be involved in whether it's a QBR with a client or it's an annual review, or if it's automated reporting that ideally your security awareness program is delivering out to your clients, being able to provide that information proactively really helps with that shift that we see MSPs trying to make, which is getting more proactive, being more of a consultant instead of just managing programs for their clients. And when MSPs combine these capabilities, they get that proof that their work is actually reducing risk, proof that their clients are safer, and proof that cyber insurers can actually trust. And it can't be done manually. That's the really important thing. There's lots of different ways to skin a banana, but doing these things manually and doing it at scale across all of your clients, because we talked about the importance, and you mentioned it, Nick, the importance of having 100% coverage across your clients and across all endpoints. You
Yep.
can't achieve that 100% coverage doing these things manually. It has to be a tool that automates these for you, but automates it in a way that is actually enhancing value and actually reducing risk, not just delivering training
A
and
hundred
phishing.
percent.
So
A
kind of
hundred
long answer to your
percent.
question, but yeah, we're totally seeing it
No,
all the time.
that's that 100% accurate, and that's one of the things I really like about the Cork Vantage platform of how it's able to
Yep,
automatically help MSPs get proactive with managing all the endpoint solutions and user security solutions they deploy. Because again,
yep,
it helps them be proactive. Right now, we see a lot of MSPs are still reactive to responses. Once a year, they get that security questionnaire from the insurance, from their clients saying, hey, last year you checked all these boxes. Are all these boxes still the same? And then the MSP has to manually fill out the questionnaire, manually double check that, yeah, the backups are still running. Yeah, the MFA is still running. Whereas if they had some sort of automated auditing platform, whether it's Cork or someone else, they're a bit more proactive. They already know the answers to those questions before the questionnaire even hits their desk because they are double checking and reinforcing that, yep, MFA is turned on. Yep, all users have completed security awareness training in 3 months. Yep, we verified that this client has 18 endpoints of RMM running, and all 18 endpoints also have EDR running, and all 6 servers of those 18 endpoints are backed up. Like, good across the board. So definitely, being proactive as opposed to reactive is going to be a differentiator and pretty much a standard now that more and more MSPs are going to be adopting.
yep.
So with that, we do have a couple more moments here for some Q&A. There is a chat box here in the Zoom link, so feel free to chat us over some questions. I did see a couple come through during the presentation. Let me take a look. See here. The first is does Cork sell direct? So no. Everything Cork related, both the Vantage monitoring platform and our financial protection offering. It's only available through our managed service providers. If you're an MSP, you can buy it through Cork at corkinc.com. We're also available through our friends over at Pax8. So if you're in the Pax8 ecosystem, you can check us out within the marketplace. So small businesses can only get Cork through our managed service providers. Good question there. What else do we got trickling in here? This one I think is for you, Chris. What are the minimums? Do you have to buy 1,000 licenses? What's the minimum for your platform?
Yeah, good question. We have a couple of different ways that we partner with our MSP partners. We do have a kind of true MSP pooled license model that adds a lot of flexibility into how MSPs are able to leverage our licenses. Obviously, provides improved margins. And within those pool models, our minimum 250 licenses across your customer base. Now, on the flip side, we do have a no minimum, no commit resale model as well. signing up for that resale program. There's no financial commitment. There's no minimums. You sign on to become a Beauceron partner, and you can start to sell Beauceron licenses, and there is no minimum buy for that. And like you had mentioned as well, Beauceron also does not sell direct. We only work through our network of channel and reseller and MSP partners. So if you are an MSP partner looking to work with Beauceron, you can either head to beauceronsecurity.com, email sales@beauceronsecurity.com, or my email is right there on the screen as well. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have a chat.
Perfect. Looks like there's one last question that trickled in here. Reading that now. Nick, on today's webinar, you mentioned that a large amount of claims are denied by cyber insurance carriers. Cork offers its own financial protection. How do you guys ensure that you won't deny the same amount of claims as insurance does? Really great question. So, yes, so Cork's financial coverage is designed to supplement a cyber insurance policy. Since launching the business 3 years ago, we've paid out on every single claim that's come through, about 24 or so claims. So we have a 100% payout rate. In theory, we could deny a claim, but one of the reasons why we haven't had an issue denying a claim yet is really because of our monitoring platform, right? We go out of the way to help our MSPs be proactive. We tell our MSPs that, hey, we can't pay out. Cyber insurance cannot pay out on this claim if your client got hit today because MFA is turned off, because this user isn't enrolled in security awareness training, because EDR is uninstalled on this machine. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't had to deny any claims, is we help our MSPs become proactive by making sure that everything is installed where it should be installed. So, which is something all MSPs should be doing, whether you're using Cork or something else. Never hurts to have a double check and have someone else look at your work to make sure that everything is installed where it should be installed. I'm sure a lot of MSPs out there, they have great technicians, they have great operations people, but sometimes that operation person forgets to drink their cup of coffee, or sometimes there's a bug in your RMM script to deploy everything. So never hurts to double check your work. So with that, we'll do a quick little wrap up here. Again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. My name is Nick Wolf. I'm the channel chief here at Cork. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me at nwolf@corkinc.com, or you can visit us online, corkinc.com. Also happy to connect with you all on LinkedIn, so feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I have a large presence there. And Chris, any other final comments or thoughts from your end?
No, I appreciate everyone taking the time to join on the webinar with us today. Get Chris McGinn, Director of Channel Sales at Beauceron. Also happy to reach out and connect on LinkedIn. But otherwise, thanks for the time, Nick. This was fun, and I look forward to our next one.
All righty. Awesome. Thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate your time today.